Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast. I'm Brendan. I'm here with John.
Hello. What do you like spaghetti?
Yeah, I like spaghetti.
What do you call fake spaghetti?
An impasta.
Hey!
Got one.
You did. Woo! All right, that was not rehearsed, ladies and gentlemen. That was not rehearsed.
No, I think I have heard that one before.
There you go. Yeah.
Get it? An impasta.
Yeah, it's deep. It's profound. So what's the North Star in a scramble?
We were talking about life stuff and what happens at some point in life is sometimes things you have to scramble. And then so John asked me, what's your North Star in a scramble? Oh, you just asked me again.
I did. It just happened again.
Shit,
Yeah.
this happened again. And I said the first thing I thought of was Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I'm like, I don't know per se in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's just because it's a feeling. I don't have to think it. I just go. It's like, just go that way, go this way, feel that, avoid that. But when life is sort of a scramble, I think here we go. And you asked me again. I think one of my North Stars or something that helps me is just like working to realize that I don't need to it feels uncomfortable, but I don't need to be upset about the discomfort. I can let things be messy and then continue and just know that things are going to be messy for a while, but as long as I continue to do the jobs I need to do and continue to get things done, then I'll be fine. Something like that.
Sounds like you know what the jobs are that you need to do.
Right. So I don't know if we're to get nitpicky. I don't know if scramble is the right word per se. It's just maybe it's like I've got a lot going on and I have to manage a lot of stuff, so I can't. It's like a lot. It's a complex managing, so I can't necessarily hold the entire thing in my mind, or I do a little here, a little there, a little here, a little there, and then just say, okay, am I on track? Okay. So it's like a holding, really. So maybe it's more like feeling like I'm stuck in a holding pattern where things are messy and so they're not quite clean enough or they're not quite organized enough, but I just have to go. Like maybe like an artist when they're painting, they have paint everywhere and it's like fucking mess, but then like the painting starts to come along, but they do a little bit and
Yeah, it's
but
part of the
around
creative
them
process.
the creative process, it's like a fucking
There's some
I've got a
chaos.
chaos. There you go. Chaotic is a good word. So what's your North Star when things are chaotic? Continue.
Oh, I think you said get the job, keep doing the work, keep doing the job. I think you have to know what the job is. You have to have a bigger context. When I think of jujitsu or submission grappling, I think of a scramble. I
Yeah.
think of, okay, there are positions that I'm familiar with. There are positions that I'm not familiar with. There
Interesting.
are dynamics that I am aware of that are advantageous. There are others that are that are advantageous if I'm aware of them. If I'm not
Yeah.
aware of them, then they can be used against me more easily. So with jujitsu, I would think of a scramble as like any position, any like physical relationship where I'm not really that familiar with that particular position, and there's movement, like they can move, I can move, things are changing, and I'm not really familiar with where it is, where they are, where I am relative to each other. I haven't been there before that much, so it feels chaotic. Maybe the speed is more than I'm familiar with. Maybe they're big, whatever, but there's chaos, like you said. And then my North Star is for grappling are things like, if nothing else, keep my posture, improve my posture. Like a lot of things just are just like everything's better with good posture. Protect my vital areas. You know, don't let them into certain spaces. Seek to be in their spaces.
Yeah.
Throw off their balance if possible. Interrupt their breathing if possible. And these are just like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know where I am, but I know that if my posture is better than theirs, I know if I'm higher than they are, I know if I breathe and they can't, I know if my balance is good and theirs isn't, then that's good.
Yeah.
Then I can find my way to a position that I've been before, typically, and then I know what to do. I have a process from there, like that I can follow step A, B, and C.
Yeah.
But then a scramble is like chaos like that. It could be like something else bigger than jujitsu or another game, or managing a business or family relationships, stuff like that.
One thought I had, I guess Elon Musk comes up often enough for me, is he has something called first principles. And one of my curiosities, when I would ever hear somebody say first principles, I'm like, which ones? Which principles are like, but he means first, as far as I can tell, he means first think of principles. And then I was like, well, again, which principles is he talking about? But ones I think for business are like time and resources. And I guess I would, like time, resources, and processes. And certain processes take time, but it's like that's the base. And so he thinks of those first. So sometimes my mind goes down roads like that, like because and like Marshall principles. What? Boxing at a base, you're in trouble. Dodge, just get out of the way. That's like, and then seek to destroy while doing that. So it like simplifies the complexity into something very simple, like one, two things. Well, I remember Craig Jones. There's like a little clip of Craig Jones in a cornering for a guy in a UFC fight, and his guy got mounted, and he's just screaming, hips, 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 push his hips. And that was it. Like the guy's in the shit, in chaos, and Craig's like, that's what you focus on right there. Push his hips, get your legs out, and he did, and he's fine.
So, but he had the experience and the know-how and savvy to
Right.
say hips, 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 and to know that that was the right thing to do at that time, whereas the fighter didn't, even though he could physically execute. He didn't know what to do because he was in the shit. He didn't have the experience, or he didn't have the
might not have,
perspectives.
yeah. And he can't, maybe he doesn't see. So then maybe an even better question would be, what do you do if you are in a scramble and you don't know?
Yeah.
Ooh.
What don't you think that's why some people have a code, they have accountability partners, they have a belief system, and I don't mean like a belief system that's maybe dysfunctional, but like,
sure,
people say like, what would Jesus do, for example, and then they look at that as a like, okay, what, I don't know what to do in this situation, what should I do? And then they consider what they think he would do,
right,
and then they
sure.
do that even if they don't know what to do and they don't feel, for example.
Yeah, it seems to be the way of it. Or shut down. I guess it just depends on the person, or depends on what's going on. But what should people do if they're in the shit and they don't know?
Well, in the shit and in a scramble are two different things.
Yeah, that's true.
In the
and
shit is like,
what is
I'm
a
on the shit end of the
scramble?
stick. I define a scramble, like from jujitsu perspective, as being in motion. I'm in motion and my opponent is in motion, and we're not in an identifiable position that I'm familiar with for long enough for me to employ a strategy that I can recognize.
Yeah.
And when I'm in a scramble, things are changing too fast for me to like apply much rationality to it, except for maybe like some primary principles or
Primary
dynamics,
stuff.
like
Right.
okay, I don't know what's going on, so I'm going to seek top position. I'm going to keep my posture up. I'm going to guard, the space underneath my arms, and keep my balance and mess with his balance, and keep my breathing and mess with his breathing.
Right.
And like, if I just do those things, and I don't even have to think it, but if I just do those things, then 9 times out of 10, it
Something
goes
else will
well.
come up.
Yeah, something else will come up, and I don't have to know the how exactly. Figure it out on the fly, and I'm just working towards that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would define a scramble as there's motion, it's complex. I think you used that word earlier. It's complex.
Yeah. I use chaotic, I think. I did
Yeah.
use complex too. Yeah. It's like complex and chaotic. And it's like not everything can be considered because it's moving too quickly, perhaps. I
So
mean, in
then,
a grappling, or in fighting for sure, it's moving too fast to think. So it's all just a feeling, and like, and one of the things that I think is fascinating about that is within the speed, the mind does have an ability to have thoughts, but they're not thoughts like you'd think, like a feeling thought, like a knowing that's instantaneous. I know what to do. You know,
mhm,
seek top position, protect my arms, blah, 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 have good posture could be like a single thought that, like, I
mhm,
know what to do. Do that. Fling, and it's
mhm.
just, nah, 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 and it's just running, something like that. I
Yeah,
think that's interesting.
yeah. So how would people, if you're in a situation that's not jujitsu, you're in a
Yeah.
situation like running a business, you're in a situation like going to school, you're in a situation like buying a house or building one or whatever, how can people ask the right questions that will lead them to find the North Stars when they are in a scramble for whatever that domain might be?
I think the one of the first things that comes to mind is, but it's based on, you have to remember to do this. Probably ask the question, what questions should I be asking right now that would help?
Yeah.
Like if you got nothing, I would start there.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are some of the best questions I could ask? Or even more simple and basic could be, what is this?
What is this? What is
Like,
this
what is this?
interaction?
Just,
Yeah.
yeah, what, like, if I'm in something, I'm doing something, I don't know, what is it? And then consider it from all perspectives, like, or sight, sound, feeling, your experience. What is this means, like, what is your experience of this? Include everything that you've got, your feelings, your thoughts, your emotions, the sight, the sound, the touch, the taste, the smell.
Mm,
And then also seek outside of yourself, like what are the dynamics involved in the objects that are present, and then you'll start to get a knowledge of that through questioning, through wondering about it, like starting to wonder and investigate, and you'll start to see.
mm.
That'll be one thing that,
I think,
what are we dealing with here?
yeah.
What's the goal?
Peter says, your body. He asks people to consider that their bodies are objects resting on the ground,
Yeah.
and it's like that's for to do with the body, but um, it seems like that's really, really basic. It's really, really fundamental. It's really, really simple, and
Yeah.
yet it's something that we don't notice. And I
Yeah.
wonder if it's like that for like relationships, for reactivity, for getting something done socially.
Yeah.
What are, like, when you're asking like what is it? Okay, what is the body? Well, it's an object resting on the ground. Okay, well, what's this reactivity? What is that? The same kind of thing on a
Well, I think
fundamental level.
yeah, and I think we run in, maybe there's a trap there too, or a trap like, you say, what is it? Well, I'm just standing here.
Mm.
So, oh shit. All right, but then it shuts down. So yes, you're standing there. And is there more? Like,
Mm,
is there something you're missing? Is there something more simple? Is there something eh, are there principles that make this work? But then how would somebody know to ask those questions? Like, I've been trained. I can be creative in my questioning and perhaps look in ways other people can't because of my training. But then how does somebody who's never been trained,
yeah, go
what
down that road.
what do they get? Like, ask more questions. What can you do? Ask questions. What questions do you ask? Questions that pertain to the thing you're trying to
Mm.
figure out.
Do you think there are people in this world now and in the past who uh, ask a lot more questions than others and kind of encourage and remind people to ask questions? Because maybe the majority of people, of us, kind of fall into the same old humdrum of accepting things as they are.
I would imagine there's people that ask more questions than others. Well, like I think of Richard Feynman's father taught him how to do that. Richard Feynman's father wasn't as smart like Richard,
Mm,
but he was smart enough to teach him how to question things.
mm-hmm.
You know, I've heard the one about the bird. I fucking love that because all the other kids, yeah, what are you, stupid? That's a brown-throated thrush.
Oh,
You
okay.
see, so it like shuts down that questioning right away. Like, oh, you're stupid. Why would you even think to question that? That's dumb. Obviously, it's a brown-throated thrush. She's like, but it's not. Brown-throated thrush is the language.
Mm.
It's not what's there. And people, yeah, we want to organize things and have them be set and not have to worry about them. So I think there's a strong push to not question.
What's that guy's name? I think it's Malcolm Gladwell or something, and he wrote some
Yeah.
books. And I think one of his things, like, he identified different kinds of people, and one of them was
The Maven.
I wasn't thinking of that because I can't remember, but the connector. He
Yeah.
like identified people that connect other people. And these
Yeah.
people are, like, by definition rare because they're kind of like the nexus point between a lot of other people,
Yeah.
right? They tend to connect people together socially. And what if there are people who are kind of the question askers? They're just people who sort of, like, in the grand scheme of things, they're the ones that just tend to be more curious, ask more questions, ask more deeply, just not stop at whatever first answer appears.
Yeah.
And they also, by virtue of that fact, if they're good at it, and they probably are because they do it a lot, they tend to remind other people to who gravitate towards them to do that too. And I wonder if Peter is like that, and in some
I
way,
was
you're
wondering.
like
Yeah.
that. And so, like, how do you remember to ask questions? Well, you're watching this podcast,
Yeah.
and we're
Yeah. If you're
reminding
watching this,
you, we're reminding
ask
you,
questions.
yes, for whatever you're pursuing or whatever you're involved in, whatever is fucking you up, if you're in a scramble, ask yourself, what is this thing here? What is this dynamic that I'm in?
Yeah. What am I missing about this? What am I overlooking?
Hmm.
What what am I missing that if I grasped what I was missing, I'd be more effective at this? What would make this work effectively? How can I
Hmm.
do this better? Yeah. What is the reality of this scramble that I'm in? Yeah.
Wait.
And
Hmm.
if you want to ask some of the most profound questions on the planet, come do a workshop.
And you want to be in a structure and a community of people who are asking those same questions, so you don't get distracted and start playing video games on your phone.
Yeah. Come do a workshop. Come do a workshop. Yeah, no,
So
we've got a little community set up here.
there are some other questions. People have been asking us some questions.
Yes, thank you for the questions out there. Let's go to the questions.
So last on the last video there were some comments. Mr. Red Anvil Red Anvil.
Did we? Mr. Red Anvil, you are a frequent flyer on my channel. I appreciate it. Mr.
Mr.
Red Anvil, thank you for writing in.
Mr. Red Anvil says, if time travel is possible, would that mess up all our concepts of what free will is? What are your thoughts?
Pure speculation.
It's pure speculation.
No idea.
I got an idea.
You can feel free to speculate. I don't.
It depends on who we're talking about. Are we talking about you? Are we talking about the real you?
If time travel were possible, would that?
If we're talking about the real you, there is no time travel.
That's right.
There's you, and then if time travel is possible, so to speak, there's no travel. It's circumstances. It's circumstances changing, perhaps, or something, and then you haven't gone to any other time.
Yeah, because there's no time.
So that kind of just kills that.
Yeah.
Right there. But if you're talking about like your body moving around, then where do you draw the line? Like what's you and what's not you? Because I've got cells dying and being born, and which ones are me and which ones aren't. And how do you? I don't know how to slice that.
Yeah. Yeah. In the context of consciousness work, it's an irrelevant question, really.
Find the time machine.
All right, I'll tell you what. Here's how I would answer that in a workshop. Come to a workshop. I would say, do it, find out, and let me know. Build a time machine, travel in time, see if it messes with your concepts of free will for real, and let's see. Or yeah, Peter would just look at him and say probably blue.
Yeah.
But I appreciate. I'm not trying to shut down your comments. I'm just saying.
So let's take it a little bit more seriously. I mean, I know it's pure speculation, but if time travel is happening, then that's like space and time moving around.
Yeah.
I'm still me. I'm still here.
Yeah.
Free will doesn't change. Circumstances would change. So circumstances are changing differently anyway. So it'd just be circumstances changing in another way.
Yeah. And if time travel, yeah, again, pure speculation. So as soon as I'm speculating, just to be clear, I feel like I have moved off of it. It's just a mental masturbation, really. Which is okay, because there's probably tons of mental masturbation happening on this throughout the podcast. But I just want to make a very clear division between speculation and considering reality. All right. So speculation wise, it depends on how, what happens when you time travel. I don't know that. See, like if I go back in time and then shift something now, is there an effect on the objects in front? You know, and then so when I get back up to the regular time, the thing that was there isn't there anymore. So then what? I think things would get really messy. We'd probably end up in a very chaotic scramble. And and how, is it one person that can time travel, or can everybody time travel? Because if everybody could, I think time and space would get very disorganized very quickly, and we wouldn't be able to have cohesion. It would just be, you wake up in the morning, you don't fucking know what's going to happen, because somebody might have time traveled, fucked with your shit. You wake up, maybe you don't even wake up, you die, you know, and blink out of existence. I don't know. It's just one of the things from a real standpoint. I don't think we've ever seen anybody travel.
Yeah. Where are the people from the future coming back to say, hey, get your shit together.
Get your shit together. Yeah, or whatever. So I don't know. It's total speculation, and yeah.
All right. So here's a question. Diego Arzola.
Diego, another frequent flyer. Thank you for your comment.
So Diego says, would you guys talk about creating what you want versus avoiding loss as an approach to living? I found Stuart Emery's insights on this topic to be applicable to my own life and to those of others around me.
Yeah.
And then he goes on into a lot of details about what he's experienced and seen.
Yep.
He says, basically, at some point in life, some of us may have concluded that we can't, quote unquote, win, that we're fundamentally incapable. So we settle on avoiding loss as our way of living rather than creating the results that we want.
Oh.
We settle on avoiding loss as our way of living rather than creating the results that we want. That sounds very dark.
That sounds true
Mm-hmm.
so far.
We do this by preventing others from winning.
Making
Turning
them
our
wrong, maybe.
maybe making them wrong, or just trying to tear down their success. Turning ourselves into a game by getting sick, destroying the game, becoming a problem so that the players, quote unquote players, have to stop playing to take notice of and deal with us. Sounds like throwing a fit or a temper tantrum, or
Yeah.
not taking our desire to succeed seriously. Adopting the role of a righteous judge. That way we get to be right by criticizing and denigrating players.
Okay.
Players or other people.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. I think we can probably skip to the end there.
Okay. I think this would be an interesting subject to explore. I've been enjoying the podcast overall. The recent political episodes have been entertaining, meaning mental masturbation, and the
Yeah.
others are real and grounded best.
Thanks, Diego. Thanks. Yeah. You go ahead. What do you got? And then I've got my 2 cents. I'm curious what you have to say.
Oh, it's immediately, I don't know. I think it's very difficult to be creative if you are operating out of a reactive mind state.
Yeah.
When we're in a reactive mode, where we get tunnel vision and we see very few options. We just don't think that there are very many options available to us, and we don't usually like the options that are available to us, but like we're sort of in a conundrum where we feel on the shit end of the stick and we're forced to be choosing between bad and worse.
Yeah.
And I think that people, probably everyone, finds themselves experiencing that kind of life to some degree at some point in time. And I think getting out of that is like a trick. It's like a first principles help. But how do you
Bring it back.
get to first principles? How do you realize that you're a creative agent and that there's maybe a third option? Maybe you could break out of the context. That's sort of, I think, particular to the individual and the context that they're in. But
Yeah.
it's very easy for people to get into a survival mode that dominates their whole experience of being alive. Very easy, and I think maybe it's even the norm.
That's probably the norm. I mean, yeah, so yeah, that's interesting. Keep going.
Then
I didn't know if I cut
pontificating,
you off.
I've heard that, from like a sales perspective, they talk about like risk adversity or loss adversity, and psychologically,
Can you explain that?
psychologically, the majority of people, not all, because there are people who are neuroatypical, but
Right.
the majority of people, they experience on an emotional level, and like losing $10, they experience more pain. It carries more weight than gaining $10.
Right.
Is pleasure. Like the amount of pleasure and pain are not equal for the same monetary loss, and that comes in other things too. It's not just money, and
Like
that's
people like
survival.
I think in that it's like people are more motivated to avoid pain or avoid loss than to seek like they'll be more
Yeah,
motivated to do something if it's avoiding a pain.
yeah, and if and there's like the theory, and I understand this is being theoretical, not coming from, you know, it's not coming from nothing. This is coming from ideas, but
Yeah.
like from an evolutionary perspective, uh, there's good reason to not take too much risk, because something might eat you or you might starve to death,
Yeah.
and instead stick to the environment that you know and the
Stay
paths
safe.
that you know. Stay safe. Yeah, there might be more food in that valley across the mountain range. We've heard that there is, but man, do you want to risk going over those mountains? Because a lot of people never make it,
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah, and I think yeah, it does seem like the norm is stay safe. Do the safe thing. I mean,
Hmm.
I've seen it in myself for sure when I finally stopped working quote normal jobs and was just like, "Okay, I'm going to do this thing. I don't know where my money's going to come from." It scared the shit out of me. So it is
Mm.
like throwing myself off a cliff, and I had to do that. I didn't actually throw myself off a cliff, but like, metaphorically. But the question, what's the question again? Can you talk
Well, there
about
was and we are talking about it.
We are,
So
yeah.
the answer is yes, we can talk about it.
Oh, yeah, right,
Would
right. If
you,
we're gonna get nitpicky about the words, yes, we can
yeah,
talk about it. We are.
would you guys talk about creating what you want versus avoiding loss as an approach to living? And then he mentions Stuart Emery,
Right.
and Stuart Emery, I was listening to Stuart Emery recently. He talks about fundamentally having an insight of being a creator, that you create things from nothing. And he talks about having this insight. It's like you're the one who has to have the insight.
Right.
No one can do it for you. You cannot become a free agent by someone else doing it for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. So to that point, sure. So now, thinking from a practical standpoint, what can we give to people that might empower them via our conversation? How do we serve others in our dialogue here? Your and I's back and forth. Some of the things that come to mind right away is one from Stuart Emery, and then also my own personal experience, or just listening to Stuart Emery. I have this thought: you already are a creator. Like,
Mhm.
recognize the truth of that. What do you think you did when you were a kid making your persona? Like, do you think that somebody gave that to you? Like, because I do have memories of being young and deciding things. Like, I remember I used to walk and my feet, I think, were turned out when I was a kid. And I remember saying, I don't want my feet to turn out. So I started walking with my feet turned straight, and I made myself do that. And it was easy back then. Now it feels like training's a lot of fucking hard work. But it's like, you are the one already that made this happen. So that's one thing to recognize and confront the truth of that. Yeah, but I can't. You're creating the I can'tness too.
Who can't?
Who can't?
Yeah.
Come do a contemplation intensive and get who
Get who
you
you
are
are.
for
Yeah.
real,
Yeah. Get who
because
you
it's
are.
you.
Yeah.
And so then the next thing I thought of was, one, realize that, confront that. I do that with apprentices here, for example, or like, we have an enthusiasm exercise, and I have people create enthusiasm and generate it from nothing. And you know how many people have a problem with that? Yeah,
Millions and millions and millions of people the world over.
most people. So notice that you are generative of your own attitudes for sure. So again, it's like it's already you. You're the one. Now, so there's that insight to have. And then, as far as I can tell, if you want the life you want, you make a decision to make that happen. And you decide. Again, you decide. And then take action. You have to do stuff about it. You cannot just sit down and take it. You have to put yourself out there. You have to go for the job. Like, yeah, I need a job. Okay. Do you have a resume? No. Did you take that resume to somebody? Yeah. How many people? 2. Oh, no, we don't even have a resume. Write a resume. Okay, you have a resume? Yes. How many people did you talk to? 2? Well, there's your problem right there. Go talk to 500. By the time you're done talking to 500, I guarantee you'll have at least a couple jobs.
And you won't be too afraid of talking to people anymore.
And you won't be too afraid. Yeah. So it's like that get out there, go do it thing. And then
there's the pick yourself up by your bootstraps bit, which is totally legit. And at the same time, people are always going to say, yeah, but I can't.
Right. Yeah, but I can't. Well, you know that yeah, but I can't thing. Notice where that exists. Again, back to questioning. Where does this yeah, but I can't exist? In my mind. Yeah, but where in there? In your head? Yeah, it's a feeling of I can't. Yeah, that feeling is something that you're doing. It's not something that you are. Don't do that feeling.
Well, okay, so right there. So the getting that you're doing it. What are some strategies? What are some like things like experiments? Say like somebody's listening to this right now and they don't buy it. They're like, you know what? I like your podcasts, but let's get real. My feelings are things that happen. I do not control them. So how can somebody take a look at that for themselves? What can they do in their own experience to experience that they actually have some control over their emotions, or maybe full control, or maybe just part, whatever, but they've got some control there?
Ooh, yeah. Okay, first thing, say we're starting from scratch.
Yeah.
Are you willing, I'd have to ask the person, are you willing to take a look at your experience in a way that, are you open to the possibility? Are you open to the possibility that there may be more going on than what you think is going on regarding your emotions?
Can you say that again?
Are you open to considering, I may not say exactly what I just said, but are you open to considering that there may be more going on about your emotions than what you presently think and experience?
Yeah.
If yes, then proceed. Great. Are you willing?
If no, have a great day.
Have a wonderful day. I love you. We love you. Let's go have a beer. Okay? Or if that's the case and you're that kind of person, you go have a beer. I will just let you go to the ether, whatever. Okay? If yes, we can proceed to stage 2. Are you willing to take a look at your experience? Are you willing to look into the matter? Again, yes, the person needs to be willing to take a look. You have to be open that there might be more, there might be something missing, and you need to have a willingness to take a look. Now, if we have both of those prerequisites filled, great.